Would you believe me if I said don't turn the shoulders in the golf swing? What about if I said don't turn the hips in the golf swing? Those two things might seem a bit unusual, especially when you consider how much instruction tells you to make a big shoulder turn, to wind up the hips and rotate the hips through the ball. Both of those things cause so much damage to too many golf swings. And the chances are you're one of them. So I'm going to show you the exact sensation that is so much more efficient, easier to perform, and of course, helps the result. More power and consistency and all that stuff. Let's get into it. One of the keys to reliable golf shots and a more body-friendly swing is using our natural anatomy and a pivot to swing the club rather than trying to place it in position. And what happens when people interpret turn the shoulders is they're turning too flat, okay? Or turning too much, or so conscious about this movement here, other things get forgotten. So it can sort of be cheating. Turning the shoulders, but nothing else has happened. Many reasons why that's gonna cause lack of consistency, because it causes like a compressed swing in a way. And the same with the hips. If you think, well, I've got to turn the hips around and get the butt to the target, yes, you do. And yes, you still need to make a movement that gets you behind the ball to be able to move it back. That's what's going to give you effortless power. We're going to do this in two parts. We're going to cover the shoulders first, then we're going to piece it together. Before we even hit a shot, I want you to just drop your club. You're going to take a dress position, all right? Let your arms hang. Without really thinking too much about a golf swing, I want you to turn your shoulders. What happens when you do that? If you turn your shoulders with your arms hanging here, you're going to look something like this. And what's happened here is I might be loaded onto the right side, but I'm kind of stuck a little bit too much. I have to work very hard to get back that way. So I want you to try something different. Because we like the wind up feel, the belly button, the rib cage, the core, whatever you connect with here, moving up and around, we need a positive feeling to move us up and around. And why is that better than just turning? Because it's using our more natural pivot and it's keeping our angles more on plane so we can deliver the club back there with less manipulation. So from in this address position, all I want you to do is tilt down to the side. So we're tilting down, I'm sliding this way. All I'm doing is moving my shoulder closer to my hip, that way. If that feels a bit awkward, you can just do it standing up taller and go to the side here. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because that movement, believe it or not, is the backswing. It might not look like the backswing because we're just here. But if I do one more thing, which is why we talked about not turning the hips as well as not turning the shoulders. If we do this hip movement correctly and not turn it, okay, which will end me up in a position like this, which you can see is pretty damn awkward. The feeling I'm going to have from here, all I'm going to do is feel like my right hip is going up that way. I'm not pulling it back this way. I'm just raising it up here. My only objective is to go up. I'm going up there. And as you can see, I've suddenly got a backswing. I haven't turned a single thing. So I'm gonna add the hands into it. I'm not gonna move the club yet, like specifically, but I'm gonna go right side up, left side down, whichever you want to do. Then I'm going to raise my hip and the arms get pulled along for the ride. Be a little bit careful when you're raising this hip up with that feeling. We don't want to be cheating and straightening this leg too much because you'll notice that will basically get me dipping down too much. So be wary of this. It doesn't mean it's locked straight. It doesn't mean it's staying rigid and we're not moving it up at all, okay? But we're trying to maintain our angles that we have on the feet with the knee over the ball of the feet. So I tilt and I raise the right hip up. I'm braced against this side and my club basically just falls into the right movement by following my pivot. I'm not trying to manipulate anything here. The arms are following and it's a very powerful move. So you can rehearse this without hitting shots as much as you like, whether it's the club across your shoulders where we are tilting and then raising the right hip, tilting, raising the right hip, tilting, raising the right hip. Then we start adding in the club, tilting, and it feels a bit awkward, but tilting, raising the right hip. And you start getting this automatic swing that doesn't require too much finicky interactions. It feels powerful. And I'm going to show you one drill that I think is really going to accelerate your learning. grab an alignment stick if you can and stick it into the ground, because a little bit like King Arthur, right? Excalibur, I'm trying to pull this out of the ground, and I cannot do it if I was trying to turn my shoulders or turn my hips. It just sort of starts dragging that way. What I want, and why this matters, we want to feel like we are winding up and creating leverage into the backswing, okay? So then we can move back down with authority. And this is really going to enhance it. It's in the ground like a few inches here. It might look a bit awkward at first, but as you get better at it, the same feeling we've got is left side down or right side up. I personally prefer the right side going up because it feels more momentous rather than going this way. So I'm going to go right side up with my shoulders up here. It's going that way. And then I'm going to feel like my right hip is going up. So it's up there. And I can pull the stick out of the ground. We can go again. And we can get better at it using a bit more authority and speed. So it's up and up, okay? And look how wide I am, how loaded I am. And that stick, Excalibur, comes out of the ground pretty damn easily. And then from there, I can throw it back down because I've got the body pivots that are natural, that are easier to perform. The little checkpoints you can have to make sure your pivot and angles are on point are with the club across your shoulders to see where we're pointing. Is it pointing nearer towards the ball? Are we too far this way? Or are we going off there? Now with a driver, and this does apply with driver people, I always get asked, just because I'm holding an iron or a driver, which does it apply to? This works with either. It's the same concept. It's just we're changing our address position a little bit, that's all. But I can check to say, okay, right side up, hip up. Am I pointing it there? Then I go right side up, hip up. And then now we have a perfect backswing. So I keep rehearsing that. I do those little checkpoints. Are my hips going too flat? Or is it pointing more towards the ball? Use the mirror, use your phone. Get better at the basics. One of the beauties about this don't turn the shoulders and don't turn the hips, it turns the whole swing to feeling like it's just a few inches that we're moving. I'm just moving my shoulders, my chest, core, just a few inches that way, up. Likewise with the hips, they're just going a few inches up. I'm not trying to move it all the way around, okay? Now, this doesn't mean that you're not going to make a shoulder turn. It just means you're not trying so hard to do it, because you'll see just by the same action, I'm getting plenty enough turn, right? And you say, oh, okay, I'm flexible. But let's say I even restricted my lower body. It's much easier to get a wind up and a better authority of swing with less turn here than it is trying to get more turn over there or cheating or sort of doing this, all right? So piece all that together and I'm pretty sure you'll start feeling a bit more power, a lot more simplicity, which in turn gives you confidence. Wind up, much easier than turning. Let me know how you get on and if you have any questions. Check out this lesson next because it's really gonna give you the aha moment with the driver. People are having amazing results by not turning the shoulders with the driver. Check it out here.